Hey, Pete.
Hello, how are
Happy
you?
Friday. Good.
Friday's here and gone already.
That's right. So, an interesting day in the market, an inside day in the spiders.
Yeah, I have to say I didn't see that coming.
Some things worked out, some things didn't.
Um, I was so focused on Facebook and Netflix today, and Facebook gave us the run at the end of the day. Obviously, we had a couple inside days we were watching. That was one of them. Finally caught a bit at the end of the day there.
Right. A lot of things seem to have caught a bit at the end of the day. How about Amazon?
What is with the new "Let's get busy at 2 o'clock" vibe with the market?
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. At 2 o'clock on a Friday.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's kind of, that was definitely an interesting. Um, yeah, and Baba, I was watching for a short. I had to cover my short because it did not work out.
It looked like it was picture perfect right up until this point. Again, and we saw this a couple of times yesterday that stocks pushed down, pulled back, and should have made the new push, which I think actually CVX was the one that we were looking at yesterday that did not do that, which we can get to
Right.
that in a second. But I called for an expansion of volatility this morning, and I hate to call directional for two inside days. And I could absolutely justify a short sale today. Didn't follow through. The question is whether or not you got involved again here in the afternoon after it gave you another opportunity on a really clean bull flag at that point. Plus, the market was actually strong at that point. But
Yeah, I actually did not. Took it off. It was I went on to other things.
well, you can absolutely see why. I mean, this stock got absolutely crushed 2 days ago, two inside days, and you would think, all right, nice consolidation. I mean, it wasn't at the lows of the day, but definitely 2 days of consolidation, and you would anticipate it rolling over, and you could absolutely, without even really doing it that difficult, making a case for why you didn't want to be long. It was very easy
Right.
to see why you had a short bias there.
Yeah, yeah, no. So better to watch some things that were kind of working in the direction we called. One
I
of
think
them was Amazon.
Amazon, yep. I actually think, I don't want to gloss over it. That was a very
Okay.
important lesson that you just gave, Marion, that if you have an idea for a stock and it doesn't do what you want it to do, I think in the long run for most traders, it's better to step aside than change your side.
Right, because then I think you spend too much time on the stock. You're because you really obviously didn't have a conviction, so you're sitting there fretting over it.
Yep, yep. It's also hard to have conviction if you say, "Oh, no, it's in my list. I'm going long, short today," and then all of a sudden, nope. Now I want to go long. Oh, nope, reversed again. Now I want to get short. It's impossible to trade with conviction when you're constantly going back and forth like that.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you.
So we set the target at, I believe it was the high of this day 2 days ago on Amazon, which was 529.95, and I always like to round off, so I usually say 530, and uh, we were pretty much there. I didn't
529.89 it got to.
I didn't expect it to have that nice move in the afternoon, but that's just the tape we're in right now. This is one of those markets where you have the vision of being a day trader, where you're trading a few hours a day, and it's all sweet and beautiful. You have to grind it out right now. There's absolutely money to be had. You can't, you go to lunch and come back, go to the coffee truck outside, and you got to be glued to your seat right now because it's happening in the afternoon. You're not catching the early train right now.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Another one that gave us a nice day was we had an inside day in Apple, and that gave us some nice follow through.
Traded above the open most of the day. It was a little bit confusing. Well, actually, I shouldn't say confusing. It was a little bit. Come on already. We had it looking, finally closing above the area that we were looking at yesterday, coming into the day, right or near the 20. And like, all right, go, all right, go, and nothing for what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But what's interesting here, and what traders can take out of this, is the fact that it was above the open the entire day.
Right.
So, there was zero concept here to be looking at anything but a long, and it was just a question of when. And this to me right here was probably the entry of the day. You might not have gotten long here just because it was the first move, but you got a really clean pullback on the 10-minute chart. You got an inside candle. So you got two different entries there, giving you an absolutely sweet dollar into a nice I almost said 3-day weekend. I'm so used to saying it from last week, into your weekend. But the point I'm making, Marion, is there's a couple of things going on here. we're very stock specific. The stock is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, we made it clear today, this does not have any bias whatsoever from an institutional perspective. You're only watching the stock because it's got good everyday volatility, and it could give you $1 without, with a reasonable risk depending on it. But this was absolutely perfect. Inside, I mean, first of all, we've been joking around that we very rarely get really clean bull flags or bear flags. Gave you a really clean one and about as solid of an entry as you could possibly get there on that 10-minute chart.
Yep, I agree.
So nice gift there. And even if you missed that entry, you got another one here at the high. So now you're flagging at the high of the day. You get 25 cents past the other entry with this. This would have been about as good an entry as you get. But you get another one, and then you get another $1 out of it as well, or pretty close to it. So Apple, we say it every day, Apple, Facebook, Netflix, Tesla, even if they're not set up perfectly, which this is absolutely not, it's still a day trading stock because it can offer you this type of stuff when you have the criteria that unfolds. And this was a solid out. You're talking about this is 12 to 1. And then this entry is triggered just a little bit before 2. But now you got a solid hour of buying from 2 to 3. So day trading perspective, it's got to be in your list. I think Facebook, little choppy during the day, and definitely tried your patience. I know we mentioned it this morning that when it tends to have these really good moves to the upside, we end up getting the one candle that pulls back on light volume that shakes you out. And we didn't really get the one candle today. We got a bunch of choppiness. Did you trade this in the afternoon? Because I kind of abandoned it at this point.
You know what? I didn't. I'm still long it, though. Remember, I came into it today long, and I'm still long.
Yep. Okay.
I didn't get out, and I didn't get any more. I needed it to get over. It's actually an inside candle. Yep. I needed it to get over and through yesterday's high in order for me to add any more, and it never could do it.
So, look, I mean, the bottom line is the game plan for Facebook on Monday is the same one that we had today. It had to get above the 91.25 area. It keeps flirting with it up and down. But now we closed at the highs again, and we closed just above the 50. So it's exactly the same game plan. Maybe a little bit more aggressive on Friday because we basically had a close at the highs with an inside day. Give or take a couple cents, but I would consider that an inside day.
I would too. No, actually, I think it is an inside day. I thought I looked, and it was.
Oh, maybe I'm just eyeballing here. It absolutely could be.
The other thing is it held that 91.22 or whatever number we had. I think it was 91.22. That's why I held on to it.
Yep, right here the whole day.
I said if it can get over here, I'll add. But you know what? I'm not going to put any more money into it at this point. Will it gap up on Monday? Maybe, but at least I've got some, and I can find a place when it pulls back to add.
Every reason in the world, it was choppy intraday, but long term, there's no reason to get out of it. It keeps doing what it's supposed to do. It's pushing up, pausing, pushing up. It's just not, exploding the way you would like to, but it's on the charts. It's still long. So whether it follows through on Monday or not, it's still the right play.
Yep, exactly.
Netflix driving us a little batty, but you know what? Only because it's more baffling in the fact that it had good news, didn't get over 100, and now it's having a hard time staying over 100. Never mind, didn't push above and stay there. Can't even get over it now.
This certainly has changed. It was the darling for a while there, and it just doesn't seem like anybody wants it right now.
Look, the charts don't lie. We say it every day in the game plan meeting. We're seeing, even on the way up, all of these red candles, which means there's closes below the open even as it goes higher. And you don't see it in the longer term picture because all you see is the chart still going up, but there's a lot of institutional selling here controlling the close. And now we have almost 3 inside days in a row. Not quite, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
So the same game plan for Netflix on Monday. We're looking for an expansion in volatility, but not necessarily calling direction. You would believe, just like Baba today, that it would be to the downside. But let's just call an expansion, looking for a trend type day, and that's actually what we got in Baba. You can definitely see why you'd be looking short. You can definitely see why on intraday, as well as the daily chart, why you'd want to be short. It just didn't go down. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. You do what you're supposed to do and allow the probabilities to play themselves out. And this one just did not, just didn't roll over.
Yep, exactly.
So I guess we'll take a quick look to give everybody a picture of what's going on coming into the day, how the day unfolded, some ideas from the morning. Just remembrance to everybody today for September 11th as well. So this was the SPY S&P 500 map coming into the day. For the most part, You can see that we had a lot of strong closes. Apple was strong yesterday, which is why we were expecting follow through today. Same thing with Facebook. Google and Google L were actually on the radar today. They traded okay today, but not what we would have expected. These guys here just driving me personally a little bit. Crazy is kind of a strong word, but I fully expected much better short sales. I guess that's the way. And then we had some news today that actually is the reason that they got held up. So here's the market looking at what we were going into the market today. So it says pre-market, but this basically means yesterday's trading action and the charts that we were looking at to set up what we were going to call today. So today's call was as ridiculously neutral as I've been on the market in a long time. I had no market bias today, very stock specific. Did you feel any stronger or weaker than that? I had no bias for the market.
No, not really. I think we actually called for an inside day or just a neutral type of day.
There is no flow. Yeah, there's no flow back and forth to the market, which makes it very difficult to feel like you're saying, I definitely want to be short. I definitely want to be. We're just going back and forth right now. There's no 2 to 3 to 4 days to the upside and a pullback. There's no 2 to 3, 4 days. There's nothing. We're just, matter of fact, today was the first time I think in a couple of weeks that we haven't alternated positive to negative. So actually, I mean, that was, even though it was an inside day, it was still, at least we can hang our hat on that.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, stock specific, which means you got to really drill down, really got to cycle through your list and do your homework. You got to be ready when the market opens. So this is actually what we ended up getting at the end of the day. You just saw the daily chart there, but this is kind of what we were talking about in the morning. It looked like we were going to roll over in the morning. The VIX was actually trading higher. The SPY was trading near the low, and just wasn't meant to be. And this is the thing about this tape right now too, is you need to be absolutely flawless in your execution. If a trade's not working out, don't give it a little more room. Don't give it a little room, because this is a great example. You put on a short here, you give it a little more room, one more, all right, goes all the way back up. Now you're getting hammered on the trade. And again, hammered's relative. But now you're like, all right, great, it's pulling back in. I traded out of the position, finds a bid at the open price. Again, I hope you see why we see that's not coincidence. People are watching the opening price. You think you bailed out of the trade, that you should have took a stop loss over here, and this happens at the end of the day, and you're ruining your day, your week, and your weekend.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
When we say stock specific, and again, not that you normally should anyway, be super disciplined, pulling the plug on trades that aren't working out.
Exactly.
Sometimes the market can overcome those things. We're not in that kind of a tape right now. So here's what we have at the end of the day, and I think it perfectly illustrates the type of trading day that we had. A couple of things stand out, but other than that, we have a big mix of gray, which is pretty much what we got. A lot of stocks in the middle of the range. Again, some of them were inside days, some of them weren't. But heading into Monday now, we're going to have a couple of days worth of Friday and Saturday and Sunday's worth of news. Hopefully, actually, you would think that we would have something that would matter, but now we have the FOMC Wednesday and Thursday next week.
Right, Wednesday and Thursday, not Tuesday and Wednesday.
Which could put a damper on volatility and volume. What was the end? Just over 100 million shares in the SPY. So we actually mentioned that today too, that very, very light volume. I think it was 11 o'clock and it was like 20-something million shares, which was really light. So this is the stuff, stocks to buy coming into the day. Actually, finally, a little bit bigger list.
Right.
Which that was actually just, okay. LB, one that's been on the list for a while. You can see here clearly, and this is actually a good illustration here, Marion, of it's making the point that I made before, and this wasn't planned. You come into this because of how strong the stock was, and you're like, I'm long only. If you're looking at the stock sell off and you don't have a long only bias, you're not only wrong shorting it, but you're missing this.
Right.
Gigantic difference there. Okay, so that's a great illustration there in LB. You might want to print that out and put a post-it up there and say, if I want to be long, I'm only looking for longs, and you participate in that. That's a great example of it there.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
We were watching some of the airlines today. JetBlue, which has been pretty strong and continues to be strong, made new 52-week highs today. Again, not massive ATR, about $1.25, $1.22, but still good to watch. Amazon, you mentioned, and it hit that profit target perfectly today. You got to trade it with a little bit of a wider stop loss. Everybody has to, justify, all right, can you trade with a $3 to $4 stop loss? Then you got to justify making at least 6. I mean, and that's even on the small side. So got to depend on where you get into that one. We had Joan call out Broadcom today in the meeting. Broke this. Let me pull this out a little bit. Broke this longer term downtrend. You can see here clearly, not necessarily in an uptrend, but very clearly broke this downtrend, and you can see Broadcom had a pretty nice day today. Again, not monster ATR, but you know what? Again, say it every day. Slow dollar, still a dollar, right?
That's right. It's still adding to your P&L.
So we covered Facebook. BBY is one that we've had in the list for a while now, and you can see why. Once it had the news, it's been a really solid trade. 37 was the level. Now it's flagging above 37. Had a good trend day over 37. Should be on your watch list. No reason for it not to be. Same thing with Win on the other side. This stock just keeps giving you trend days to the downside. Look at these red candles. I mean, how many more weeks in a row can we justify that? I mean, keep it on your radar. There's no other way to say it, you know. So we discussed Baba, and we discussed Netflix. Netflix was kind of a dud today, but could set up an awesome trade on Monday coming out of now. Again, this traded over this just a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, triple inside day. That's going to set up some good volatility. Not going to call for direction. The one thing you do need to keep an eye on is the fact that it's right at $100,
Right.
which that psychological number everybody watches. You can see the size of the bearish list definitely getting smaller, not as much playing out on the short side. This list that we cover every day, we do it contra to what the SPY did. So the SPY was positive yesterday. We made a list of stocks in case the market rolls over. These would be the stocks that you would sell short first because there was already selling in them. So market did not roll over, so the stock wasn't as powerful today. But you definitely do have to keep an eye on the G Pros and those stocks as well. So, look, I think to recap the day and recap the week, Marion, I think that unbelievably stock specific. The market is not really that. I would hate to be trading nothing but the SPY or the E-minis right now.
Right.
Very, very difficult. Not that you can't, don't send any hate mail or put posts on the blog. Not saying you can't. We're just saying that there's easier money to be had if you do your work and you get in there and you're prepared for the day. No other way to put it. So I think FOMC next week is going to put a damper on some of the general market volatility, but there's always stuff for us to find. So tune in the morning, go to the blog. Hope to see you soon in the game plan meetings with us and the live trading room. Either way, have an awesome weekend, Marion. Everybody listening, have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Okay, see everybody Monday. Have a great weekend, Pete.
Okay, you too, Marion. Take care.